The courtroom fell silent as two police officers grabbed the man by his arms. Not the kind of silence that comes naturally. The kind that crashes down suddenly. Heavy, uncomfortable, unavoidable. "Time's up. You've had your fun," one officer sneered, fingers digging into fabric and skin. The black man didn't resist. He didn't jerk away, didn't argue, didn't raise his voice. He slowly stood, confusion written across his face. Not fear, not panic, but genuine disbelief. "I'm not causing any trouble," he said calmly. His voice didn't shake. That only seemed to irritate them more. They dragged him toward the exit as whispers erupted around the room. Low at first, then louder. Who is he? Why is he being removed? He must have done something. Assumptions filled the air faster than facts ever could. The judge hadn't arrived yet. The bailiff stared straight ahead, not because he didn't see what was happening, but because looking away was easier than getting involved. Phones quietly started recording, not openly, not boldly, just enough to capture the moment. People had learned. Just before the heavy wooden doors closed behind him, a loud voice echoed through the courtroom. Clear, authoritative, unmistakable. "Mr. Carter, please come forward." Everything stopped. The officers froze mid-step. The whispers died instantly. The air shifted. And in that single moment, everything changed. 42 years old, simple gray suit, worn-out shoes with scuff soles and creases from years of walking courthouse halls. To everyone else, he looked like just another poor defendant, another man waiting to have his fate decided by strangers, another name on a docket. No one would remember by the end of the day. But what they didn't know, what no one in that room had bothered to ask, was that Elliot Carter was a civil rights attorney. Not the loud kind, not the flashy kind, the kind who worked quietly, relentlessly, methodically, one of the most powerful in the state, a man who had argued cases before the Supreme Court and made seasoned justices uncomfortable. A man whose lawsuits had forced police departments to change policies they swore were standard procedure. A man whose name didn't trend on social media, but whose presence made city officials nervous. But today, he wasn't here as a lawyer. He wasn't here to argue. He wasn't here to defend anyone. He was here as a witness, a key witness, in a corruption case involving the city police department, a case that had been building for years beneath the surface. And the officers dragging him toward the exit, they were connected directly to the very corruption he was about to expose. Elliot arrived at the courthouse before most of the city was awake. The sky hung low and gray, heavy with clouds that looked like they might break, but never did. He parked several blocks away, not because he had to, because he always did. Walking gave him time to think, to remember, to steady himself. He adjusted the strap of his old leather briefcase and climbed the courthouse steps one at a time. Security barely looked up as he passed through the metal detector. No greeting, no acknowledgement, just another black man in a neutral suit. Inside the courtroom, the space felt cold. Clerks shuffled papers quietly. A court reporter tested her microphone. Two officers leaned against the wall, laughing too loudly for a room meant to command respect. Elliot chose a seat in the back row, not the front, never the front. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his notes. Not legal arguments, not opinions, facts, names, dates, times, documents that had taken years to collect, emails officers thought were deleted, recordings never meant to be heard outside locker rooms, bank transfers hidden behind shell accounts. Each file represented a life disrupted, a family broken, a future redirected by a badge worn without accountability. Elliot took a slow breath. "This isn't about you," he reminded himself. It never was. Officer Brad Collins sat like the courtroom belonged to him, legs spread, arms crossed, laughing louder than necessary. 35 years old, broad shoulders, close-cut hair, the kind of man who mistook confidence for authority and authority for immunity. Court days made him uneasy. Too many eyes, too many people who could question him, too many lawyers who didn't flinch. Then he noticed Elliot, quiet, still, focused on his phone, not nervous, not fidgeting. That calm bothered Collins. Hey, he muttered to his partner, nodding toward Elliot. Look at this guy. Probably waiting to beg the judge for mercy. They laughed. Collins stood, straightened his uniform, and walked over. You lost, buddy? Collins asked, voice coated in sarcasm. Elliot looked up. Calm. No, he said. I'm right where I need to be. Collins scoffed. This section for lawyers and officials. Elliot smiled politely. I'm aware. Collins leaned closer. You don't look important. The insult was deliberate, calculated. Elliot met his eyes. I don't need to look important. Something snapped. Move, Collins said, before you embarrass yourself. Elliot didn't move. I'm waiting for my name to be called. Collins laughed. Sure you are. He grabbed Elliot's arm. You're disturbing court proceedings. Gasps rippled across the room. Sir, Elliot said evenly, there's no need for this. But Collins had already decided. Resisting, he shouted. Another officer rushed over. Take him out. As they pulled him toward the exit, Elliot felt heat rise in his chest. Not anger. Memory. He was 9 years old again, standing on cracked concrete, watching his father press against a squad car, hands cuffed, face bleeding, neighbors watching from windows, no one intervening, his father's voice calm, the officers not listening. That was the day Elliot learned silence could be weaponized. That memory pushed him through law school, through unpaid internships, through cases no one wanted. And now, here he was, dragged like a criminal. You're making a mistake, Elliot said quietly. Collins laughed. You people always say that. I'm the witness in the Reynolds case. For half a second, just half, Collins hesitated, then laughed harder. Good one. The doors opened. They started pulling him outside. Where is Mr. Carter? The voice thundered through the courtroom. The judge had entered. Every head snapped forward. The bailiff swallowed hard. He was just removed, Your Honor. The judge's face darkened. Removed? Yes, sir. Why? No one answered. The judge leaned forward. Bring him back. Now! The officers turned slowly, faces draining of color. Collins swallowed. They escorted Elliot back inside. Every eye followed. The judge looked directly at him. Mr. Carter, are you all right? Yes, Your Honor. Why was he removed? The judge demanded. Collins stammered. He was disrupting court. Elliot spoke calmly. I was sitting quietly. The judge turned to him. Please state your full name for the record. Elliot James Carter. The room reacted instantly. Gasps. Whispers. That's him. I've heard of him. He sued the city. The judge nodded. Renowned civil rights attorney. Collins went pale. You are the key witness in today's corruption trial, the judge continued. And you were illegally detained in my courtroom. The gavel slammed. Officer Collins stepped forward. Did you put your hands on a witness? Yes. Without cause? Yes. Bailiff. The judge said calmly. Detain Officer Collins. What? Collins panicked. This is a misunderstanding. Handcuffs. The click echoed. The same cuffs Collins had used on others, now locked around his wrists. When Elliot took the stand, the room leaned forward. He spoke clearly, methodically, without anger, without theatrics. He laid out bribery, evidence tampering, false arrests, planted drugs, racial profiling, names, dates, documents, recordings played through courtroom speakers, email projected onto screens, bank transfers traced line by line. This wasn't opinion. This was fact. By the time he finished, several officers were arrested, including Collins. Outside, reporters swarmed. How does it feel? Elliot paused. I don't feel victorious. I feel tired. Tired of watching people without my voice get crushed. He looked into the camera. Today it was me. Tomorrow it could be anyone. That night, Elliot visited his father's grave. I kept my promise, he whispered. They won't drag us in silence anymore. The story went viral. Millions watched. Protests erupted. Policies changed. Officers were fired. Some arrested. Justice, slow and imperfect, began to breathe again. Elliot returned to work, helping families, fighting cases, saving lives, because power isn't about titles. It's about purpose. They dragged me out thinking I was nobody, but nobody doesn't change laws. I do.